Welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB back again. So this is kind of a retraction video, but really it's not. Happy to have you all with us today. So guys, let me say this. If you only think in one dimension, this game is largely not for you. Life is largely not for you. And I don't know what to tell you. If I tell you we have a Ferrari engine, a Ferrari transmission, and a Ferrari body, therefore we have a Ferrari, and you tell me the only thing that matters is the transmission, I'm going to look at you like you're stupid. You can put a Ferrari transmission in an El Camino. That does not suddenly make it a Ferrari. It's still an El Camino, right? In life, most things are not one-dimensional. In life, sometimes the sum is greater than the total of the parts. Doodle is going crazy for this honey bun. I love these honey buns from 7-Eleven. They're like 600 calories each. It's awesome. So, as you know, with my last two videos, people have been arguing with me about this whole efficiency / damage per peck thing. Somebody sent me the actual statement by Mindark. Let's read through it, shall we? Because in there they say that I am wrong. Let's see if you guys think I am wrong. I will leave it up to you. Here's the actual statement. Here's the link where you can find it on Planet Calypso forum. From Mindark Official. Let me read just this first line to you. The efficiency stat on items are not directly tied to its DPP. Very first line of the statement. Now, let's go with the first paragraph after the first line. All existing items have their efficiency set based on their current DPP. Yes, you heard that right. In order to keep the relative economy compared to each other in place, IMK2 was by far the most economic / high DPP, so therefore it is now the highest efficiency. Swine Deluxe was among the lowest, now it is among the lowest efficiency. So, line 1, efficiency stat on item is not directly tied to DPP. Entire rest of first paragraph, oh, by the way, efficiency stats are directly based on DPP. So, is it or is it not? Well, if you would like to say that it's not, I don't know what to tell you. They did not randomly pick the efficiencies like they pick Powerball numbers. They did not throw darts at a wall. There was an algorithm, and clearly that algorithm largely takes DPP into account, as well as other factors like ammo burn and decay. Move on to paragraph 2. Efficiency does not have to be proportional to DPP of item, but currently usually is. As explained in my last video, duh, because the algorithm for efficiency is not linear, it is not algebraic, it is a calculus derivative function of some sort. However, there are a couple of exceptions, such as scopes which have a DPP of 0, as they do no damage, but still have a fairly high efficiency stat. What this tells me, great information, I'm glad somebody sent this to me. We can look at scopes, and we can compare scopes, compare decay rates, and compare efficiencies, and we might be able to extrapolate, to some extent, what effect decay has on efficiency. This could be very useful information. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I just got this information like 30 minutes ago. But it's possible, so we might do that in a future video. Now, let's go down to paragraph 3. Oh, so before we move on, so what they're telling us is efficiency is not just DPP, there's other things that go into it. Oh, almost like decay, ding ding ding, which is what they're saying here, and stuff like ammo burn. Now, let's go down to paragraph 3, because this is where people are hanging their hats. There also seems to be a lot of confusion in regards to what efficiency does. Efficiency has a direct effect on the overall TT return. It does not directly affect loot composition. Well, there it is in black and white. I must be wrong. Except for this is Mind Dark we're talking about. And in the very first line, they told us that efficiency and DPP are in no way related. And then they spent the entire rest of the statement explaining to us that DPP and efficiency are highly, highly correlated and are indeed directly related. So here's the thing. The people who say DPP determines loot composition are not wrong, as I've said in my previous videos. They just are not completely correct. The proper way to say it would be that we can say with a high degree of certainty, this is a statistical term, high degree of certainty, that DPP is by and far the largest contributor to the efficiency calculation, and to an even larger degree, DPP is probably the leading contributor, if not sole contributor, to determining loot composition. That is the proper way to say it, because we know that more than just DPP goes into determining efficiency. We also know that more than just DPP goes into affecting loot comp. Now, why do we know that? Well, this is the argument they want to make, that essentially decay and ammo burn deal with return and not composition. That's essentially the argument they're making. And because that's the rest of the efficiency calculation, that's why they're throwing efficiency completely out the window, more or less. So here's the thing. If that is true, if it is just based off damage per pack, why is armor a factor? I'll wait. Why is the FAP you use and how much you have to FAP a factor? Why is your skill level compared to that of the mob that you're hunting a factor in loot composition, in total return? If it's just damage per pack that determines loot composition, none of these other things should affect it. If decay and ammo burn don't affect it, nothing else should. We know that armor affects loot composition. I found this out, personally, back at the FEN event. I never used to use armor. I was at the theft pit. There was an Uber. There were a lot of Ubers. They were getting platinum tokens. They said, hey, idiot, loot comp is affected by more than just efficiency. It's affected by more than just damage per pack. Put on armor. If the game thinks you're playing more economically, more efficiently, it's going to reward you. Because from a business standpoint, Mind Dark wants people who play as economically and efficiently as possible. Those are the people who keep depositing. Those are the people who play for years. What they do not want is people who get in a Zoro, throw a limited Mayhem amp on it, and go to Camp Icarus hunting punies trying to hit 1,000 pet Hall of Fame. Because those people are going to blow their wad and be gone in 2 days. Guess what? I was at the theft pit. I threw on armor. Bam! Magically started looting platinum tokens. I'd been there for hours. No platinum tokens. I put on armor. Suddenly platinum tokens. So, the same group of people who is saying that DPP alone determines loot comp would throw the armor out the window also. They would also throw out the need to hunt within your range, not a level 10 player going to hunt a level 300 Mulciber. They would also throw out the need for a decent FAP and a moderate amount of fapping, not fapping every other shot. Or fapping for 10 minutes, taking a shot, fapping for 10 minutes, taking a shot. To say that DPP alone determines loot composition is very, very one-dimensional. Now, do I believe that it is the largest portion of the efficiency rating by far? Yes. Hands down, yes. Do I believe that it is by far the leading thing in determining loot composition? Yes, to an extreme, to probably a 90 to 94% extreme, with everything else, decay, ammo burn, armor, FAP, mob level, profession level, all that being maybe 5 to 8% of the equation. So yes, to an extreme. However, the premise does not change. DPP is the largest part of the efficiency system. So, therefore, the higher the efficiency, the better your loot return. It would be ignorant to think that less decay and less ammo burn and more proper skill level for the player versus skill level of the mob and more proper fapping, it would be very ignorant to think that would result in worse loot composition. That would be completely counterintuitive. So everybody who's wanting to argue with me is apparently hanging their hat on two things. This very first sentence and this third paragraph. They're throwing everything else out the window with the baby in the bathwater. In reality, what they need to do is throw the first sentence out the window with the baby in the bathwater, read the second and third paragraphs, which say exactly what I said. Efficiency is more than one thing. It is largely DPP, and then there's also a factor of ammo burn and decay. And then they need to really take the third paragraph with a grain of salt. Look at the exact wording they used. Efficiency has a direct effect on overall TT return. It does not directly affect loot composition. How can it not? How can being more efficient not affect your loot composition, but affect your loot return? These two things are highly correlated. It would be almost impossible to write a set of algorithms that took loot return and loot composition into account completely uncorrelated. And then it would be almost impossible to raise the loot return without also increasing the loot composition. So to say it's not directly affecting it, I find that about as honest as the very first sentence. And the very first sentence was proven dishonest by the two paragraphs after it. Now, direct effect on overall TT return. Great. To what magnitude? Oh, wait. So are the efficiency ratings so important that they're going to take you from a 92% average return to a 400% average return? No. MindArk would be broke in a day. Are they going to take you from that 92% average theoretical return to 120%? No. MindArk would be broke in a day. So, from a business standpoint, can it really affect your loot returns? Yes, it can. That statement can be true. If I cycle 1,000,000 ped and end up with 920,000 ped, and then I get me a high efficiency weapon and I cycle 1,000,000 ped and I end up with 920,500 ped, okay, technically it's affected my loot return. Has it done it in any meaningful way? No. Not even close. 0.5% maybe? That's not anything statistically worth talking about. It's like people who want to argue about looter professions all day long. Okay, yes, we know looter professions are important. We know they affect overall TT return to the tune of 0.07% per level. Meaning after 10 levels, you're at 0.7% better loot, less than 1%. So to get to 7% better TT return, you have to be level 100 looter. Yet there are people who are spending tens of thousands of ped on chips off auction to raise their looter skills. Okay, assuming you could actually spend enough money and buy enough chips to get to level 100 looter in any kind of reasonable time frame, is that 7% really going to be so important it's going to somehow make your money back? I highly doubt it. Now, as your professions increase, as your looter skills grow, as you grind and cycle ped and play the game, yeah, it's a nice little bonus. But it's not going to ever be worth that investment, right? So, looking at high efficiency weapons, why are people willing to pay such a premium for them? Because they demand this monstrous premium. It is because that when you use them, you get these really nice things in your loot. The loot composition is extremely favorable. And again, I'm not saying it's due to the decay. I'm not saying it's due to the ammo burn. It is probably largely due to the DPP of the weapon, because that is largely the deciding factor in the weapon's efficiency. However, it is not the only factor. Those other factors have to have an impact of some sort. Now, maybe I'm greatly overestimating the impact that those other factors have. Maybe I'm not. Maybe they have the same impact as the DPP does. Maybe they have more, maybe they have less. I do not know. I haven't seen the algorithm. I just try and extrapolate. However, they have to have an effect. It is insane to say that DPP alone determines loot composition oh, but, it also is affected whenever you wear armor, or it's also affected whenever you hunt in the right range, or it's also affected whenever you FAP, and then turn around and say, oh, but decay and ammo burn must not affect it at all. That's asinine. So, as I said before, MindArk built the game. MindArk knows the algorithm. This is their statement. And they're saying it does not affect loot composition. But in the same statement, they're also saying efficiency stats on items are not directly tied to DPP, and then turning around and saying, oh, that's exactly what it is. And by the way, it's more than just DPP, it's also decay, which means it's also probably ammo burn, right? So, that being the case, it's got to affect something more than overall TT return, otherwise those weapons wouldn't have those high of a premium. It's got to affect something other than overall loot return, otherwise players would be making their money off the loot and off MindArk's back instead of off selling stuff to other players. This statement makes very little sense, except for they're saying both things. They're literally saying both things. They're saying it's not, they're saying it is. They're saying it doesn't, they're saying it does. So, I can hang my hat on that statement too. Mine just makes more sense. It makes no sense the other way. It makes no sense to look at it one-dimensionally. Because life is not one-dimensional. This game is not one-dimensional. The real cash economy is not one-dimensional. The business models are not one-dimensional. For MindArk or for the players. So, yes, I can hang my hat on this statement too. And I can just be more correct. At the end of the day, I leave it up to you. If you want to go out and use 0% efficiency weapons, you're going to, by extension, be using very low damage per pack weapons. If you want to go out and use high efficiency weapons, by and large, you're going to be using high damage per pack weapons. End of story. Because damage per pack is one of the factors in the efficiency algorithm. Now, I will revise my previous statement from my first video, and I will say that the proper way to say it is damage per pack has a huge impact on the overall efficiency rating of a weapon, and is likely the leading cause of loot composition. However, it is by far from the only cause. You can take the highest damage per pack weapon in game. Theoretically, according to all these guys, should give you the best loot composition in game. And you can go hunt punies at Icarus all day long, and you're going to lose money hand over fist, and you're going to cry about your loot composition. Because this is not a one-dimensional game. Life is not one-dimensional. You take that high DPP weapon, and you go hunt something with crap loot, or crap skill level compared to the damage per second, you're still screwed. So, if you can see outside of one dimension and use your own logic to know that they didn't just pull the efficiency ratings out of a hat, and that more than just one thing is going to go into determining loot composition, good for you. If you can't, I don't know what to tell you, nor do I have sympathy for you. Feel free to go hunt without armor. Feel free to go hunt level 400 mobs. Feel free to use whatever high or low efficiency weapon you want, and base everything off damage per pack, and let me know how that goes for you. If you do not want those high efficiency weapons, you can donate them to StevieB's. I will take them for free. I will take them off their hands if they're so horrible. So, in my last video, I said MindArk knows the game best. They do. However, unfortunately, it is MindArk. And I do not understand for the life of me how this company, that I am amazed can even unlock their office doors in the morning by themselves, can somehow make such a great game with such a great community that is probably one of the best games in the world, in my opinion. Not necessarily from gameplay, but from the other aspects. I don't get it. I put about as much faith in this statement being 100% accurate as I put in them getting a support case response that's not copy and paste. I put as much faith in this statement being 100% accurate as I put in event scores being accurate the moment they're released, or them turning on mayhem without something going wrong the moment they turn it on. MindArk screws up every which way they can possibly screw up. They are a great company in spite of themselves. They have never been good at communication, so unfortunately, when MindArk says something, you have to kind of pick it apart, take it with a grain of salt, and figure out what to throw out and what to keep. That is what we have done here. However, To do so, and to do so properly, you have to use your experience, you have to use logic, and you have to use what you know about gaming, coding, economy, and business in addition to what they're saying. To hang your hat on the very first line of this statement and then the third paragraph makes 0 sense. To throw out the very first line, ignore the third paragraph completely, and then go, okay, this kind of makes sense with what I know. How can this affect these two things? That makes a lot more sense. So, again, here's the statement. Read it for yourselves. Make your own decision. I'm not going to tell anybody how to play. If you want to take a limited Mayhem amp and throw it on a Zoro and go hunt punies all day long, feel free. If you want to go hunt high-level creatures that are way beyond your means with a crappy FAP and 26 fappers behind you and no armor, that's on you. Let me know how your loot comp goes, because it should only be affected by your damage per peck. According to the damage per peck crowd, you take the highest damage per peck weapons in game, go hunt anything you want, no matter how high the level, with whatever FAP, no matter how many fappers you've got behind you, and no armor, and you should have a great loot composition. I would love to see somebody actually try that. I promise you, it would not go well. Your returns would suck, your loot comp would suck. At the end of the day, the one conclusion I can take away from this is loot comp and overall loot return are actually probably more correlated than I thought. Because reading through this statement, having seen the arguments everybody's made, it'd be very hard for them to not be. So, that being said, I'm going to leave that there. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more content not related to this subject later this week. I wanted to put this out there because this is the actual statement. And this goes a very long way in showing why there is so much disagreement and why MindArt makes money in spite of themselves sometimes. So for EarnPad.com, I've been Stevie B. Smack, smack, sip, sip. Y'all have a good one.